Hello, everybody. Hi, welcome to the Kathie J Show. I am Kathie J. Thanks for hanging out with me this half hour. I say it all the time. I love you, and I appreciate the fact that you like the vibe that we're giving here on the Kathie J Show, because my staff and I work really hard to give you shows that matter to you and us and the whole community. So today, everybody, we're going to talk about addiction. Okay, so addiction, it's defined as an inability to stop using, a substance or engaging in a behavior that's bad for you, okay? Even though it's causing you a lot of harm, psychological, physical, you can't stop engaging in it, okay? My guest today can talk all about our addictions, but her focus, everybody, is women and alcohol. Everybody, please welcome to the show, Nancy McKay. Nancy is an author. She is a transformation and recovery life coach. You are so amazing, and you know everything about this topic. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes, this is very important to you to get the word out about this.
It is.
Before we get into all of it, let's tell everybody, you're a Denver kid. You're a Colorado native.
I am.
I love this, and your parents were Colorado natives.
They were.
And you grew. What high school did you go to?
I went to South High School.
South High School in the house. I love that. And you've been here your whole career.
Yep.
Okay. And then what did you do because the life coaching came later in your life?
Very later.
What was the first part of your life?
Well, I started out in the oil and gas industry, and I worked there for, many years. And then, because it's so volatile, got laid off several times, and one time got laid off and needed to learn a new career. So I learned how to be a kitchen and bath designer. Got to go back to school. And
that must have been fun.
It was fun.
Yeah, that was great.
It.
Yes.
I really loved it.
That's a sanctuary, the bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
And so I really loved that. And then the bottom kind of fell out of that in about 2010. And so I got back into oil and gas, and I was there until I retired and went into life coaching full time.
Now, one of the reasons you went into life coaching is because you have battled with alcohol since you said you're a teenager.
Well, I didn't battle with it when I was a teenager. I started drinking in high school with all my buddies.
Yeah.
And then, as time goes on, my drinking increased. And so in my 30s and 40s, I was over drinking. My father killed himself when I was 50. And that sent my drinking over the edge. Yeah.
Okay. And then when did it come to a head? When did you realize you had to stop drinking?
It was Friday the 13th of March, 2009.
Wow, there's a date for you.
Yep.
Okay.
And we'd gone out for happy hour, and
you and your husband?
Yep.
Okay.
With a bunch of friends, and came home, and I was appalled that we hadn't stopped at the liquor store to get more wine. And my husband said, I kind of think you've had enough. And I got really irritated about that.
That he said that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I went into the bedroom and slammed the door and had a pity party. And long story short, thought everybody would be better off without me.
Whoa, okay.
Which is a whole bunch of mindset going on there.
Totally right.
And so I got his gun out of the nightstand and put it to my head, and the safety was on. And so I realized that was causing a problem, and so I lowered the gun, figured out how to take the safety off, and it immediately fired. And the only thing that got shot was an innocent pillow on the bed.
Thank God.
Yeah.
And then so your husband must have heard the gunshot and came running in.
He came running in, grabbed the gun, punched a hole in the wall, went and hid the gun, hugged me first, of course.
Right,
right. And said, what are you doing? And that was it. I haven't had a drink since.
You haven't had a drink since. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
We're all glad you're here, Nancy. Thank you for sharing that. So it takes you right back to that moment. I can tell your emotions.
Yeah.
When we come back, everybody, thank you so much, Nancy. When we come back, we're going to talk about what addiction looks like and why Nancy had such a problem saying alcohol. We'll be right back. Kathie J. Ramos Law is an official partner of the Kathie J Show. He's a medical doctor and a lawyer. Ramos Law, what makes us different makes us better. Kathie J. Welcome back to the Kathie J Show, everybody. So today we're talking about addiction and recovery with transformation life coach Nancy McKay. Yay, Nancy! Thank you so much for sharing your story before we went to commercial break. That was
you're welcome.
Pretty powerful. Thank you. So let's talk about addiction, okay? So what is addiction disorder?
Well, it's when we just keep doing something over and over again that we know is hurting us.
I know, but I'm addicted to it.
Right. and the reason,
I like it.
yeah,
Right.
and that's because it makes us feel good when we participate in whatever the substance is or the behavior. We get a hit of dopamine, and so it makes us feel better, and then we just keep doing it over and over and over again, even though sooner or later there's consequences.
Mm-hmm. One of your big problems with alcohol is the fact that it's so socially, culturally acceptable.
Oh God, yes.
Talk about that.
Well, our culture promotes it, and the alcohol companies hammer it home.
For sure.
I mean,
I can't tell you how many jokes there are about mommy juice in our cups. Or
absolutely.
When, you know, like there's always, alcohol is very socially acceptable.
Absolutely, and we're taught to believe that we're not living life to its fullest unless we have a glass in our hand.
Totally, right.
You know?
Oh, girls, I can't wait to pop open some wine tonight.
Right.
Yes,
you know, and it's
you
not a
just talk like that.
celebration without champagne and so on and so forth. So it's, you know, we're taught that you can't have a good time without alcohol.
Right.
And
so when you talk to women and you try to get them to see where all that plays into their life, why they, I mean, there's a lot that goes into why they have the addiction in the first place.
Right.
Where do you start?
So we start with their mindset, really, and figuring out what it is about the alcohol or whatever the substance or behavior is that makes it feel so good, and then what their thoughts are behind it.
Right.
So why do you think it makes you feel so good, and really how does it feel?
So when you were drinking, I would have asked you why you're drinking, why does it make you feel good? And you would...
And I would say that it helps me, it takes the edge off. It helps me feel prettier and more interesting. And the problem with that, though, is that once it becomes a habit and it's, you know, you're over drinking. So for me, I was over drinking, and it creates this, I call it like a veil that comes between you and the world. And so, yeah, it takes the edge off the bad stuff. You know, frequently we're drinking because we're coping with emotions that we don't want to feel.
Right, absolutely. Right.
And so when that happens, you're creating this veil that between you and the world, but it also takes the edge off the good stuff.
Right.
So really, you're not enjoying things as much as you could because you've got this substance going on that is preventing you from feeling as good as you could.
And it's so hard to admit that that the substance that they're using to help you is actually hurting you, because that can take years to admit that.
Oh, yeah.
Really fast, could you explain the difference between Netflix and why people can be addicted to Netflix as addiction to alcohol? How is that
Well,
the same?
sure. I mean, you know, I believe that an addiction is an addiction.
Okay.
And so, because it still gives you that hit of dopamine, you know, when you're watching something on Netflix and you know, and I've done it myself where you just binge watch something one after the other.
It's not good for you
know,
or your butt.
No.
Okay. Okay. So you're saying the release of dopamine is where the addiction comes.
Exactly.
All right. So when we come back, everybody, there is more to come, and we're going to talk to Nancy about how she uses horses and horse therapy with her process of recovery. We'll be right back. Kathie J. Oakwood Homes is an official partner of the Kathie J Show. Oakwood Homes, building happiness. Kathie J. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Kathie J Show. Today we are speaking with Nancy McKay. We're talking about addiction and alcohol in particular, because with recovery and transformation, she's a recovery and transformation coach for especially with women recovering from alcohol addiction. Yep. So real fast before the commercial break, I forgot to ask you, what happens to our brains with alcohol?
Well, there's a recent study from the University of Pennsylvania that has shown that even moderate drinking shrinks the size of your brain.
Oh, that's not good.
No.
And
so that gets worse the more you drink.
Right.
And so, you know, it's not a great idea to drink anyway.
Right.
You know, and then when you're drinking heavily, then it's really causing problems.
So when someone realizes I have problems, everything seems to be going wrong, and what I've done more lately than I used to do is I'm drinking more. I need to have some sort of help. There are options out there. What does a recovery look like? What's the process?
Well, asking for help is the first thing that you need to do, and no matter who you ask, right? So whether it's a 12-step program, or if you go to a treatment or rehab facility, or you reach out to a coach like me.
See, already I think you're making people nervous. And you said you had a hard time with that too, admitting that you had a problem.
Right. So one of the things that I noticed when I was over drinking, and before I started drinking alcoholically really, was that I knew I had a problem, but I didn't have anybody to talk to about that without
sounding the alarms.
Without sounding the alarms and making the decision that I had to quit drinking.
Right.
So there's this area, it's called gray area drinking, and you know that there's an issue, but you haven't hit rock bottom yet. So what do? Well, I kept drinking.
Until you hit rock bottom.
Until I hit rock bottom,
Right.
And so what I like to do is work with women before they get to that point and help them understand that this is not something to be ashamed of.
Right.
There's no judgment here, and you can change your relationship with alcohol before you have to hit rock bottom.
That's very powerful.
Yeah.
Because I think family members also think, well, we gotta wait till they hit rock bottom.
Right.
Right. So that they could come and see you. Tell me what the horse is, why they change. So she does equine therapy. Like talk about that. Why is that so much different?
Yeah, I do Equus Coaching.
Yes, Equus. Excuse me.
And so Equus Coaching is like life coaching with a horse as a co-facilitator. And the reasons why horses make such great co-facilitators is because they mirror back to us what we're putting out into the world.
Oh, no, they do. They say horses can read you so fast.
Oh, absolutely.
They're such gentle giants. They're amazing creatures.
And they're lie detectors.
Yes.
So they know if you're not congruent, if your insides aren't matching up with your outsides, right?
Okay.
So if I was working with you and you came into the round pen and said, oh, everything is great, no problems, and the horse was on the other side of the round pen, I'd have to wonder about that, and I'd know that I need to ask a few more questions, right?
Wow.
That I need to dig a little deeper.
Because the horse is feeling that I'm not centered yet.
The horse doesn't trust you.
Right.
Because he can sense that incongruity. If there's something going on inside,
right,
that you're not admitting to yourself, that you're not landing on your truth. And so then when you do land on your truth, you don't even have to say the words, because of course horses don't speak English.
Right.
They sense that authenticity in you, that congruency, and then they trust you, and then they'll connect.
That's wild. It's just that they will realize at some point in the therapy they start to come over to the person as they get more and more honest.
Absolutely.
That is wild.
Yeah.
How many sessions does somebody have when they come and hang out with you?
It just depends. You know what? I do one-off sessions, and I also have them incorporated into my coaching program. So it just depends on.
And why do you feel, there's a lot of ways that people can get sober. Why do you feel that this one is so different than other ones out there? You mentioned the 12-step program. Why? You've been through some of them yourself.
Yep.
And what have you learned from all of them?
Well, what I've learned is that you have to be honest.
Yeah.
You really have to be absolutely with yourself. And
it's where it starts with any addiction that you're trying to get over. Because it could be environmental, it could be genetics, but when you recognize the problem,
absolutely,
you got to be honest.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Right. And then you'd have to do some work on yourself and understand why you did what you did and what you're going to do differently. So, our mindset plays such a huge role, because our thoughts are, we create these thoughts from the circumstances that we're in. So if the circumstance is, I'm drinking so much, I'm a loser, right? And
right.
So you feel like a failure.
That's not good.
Right. and then you start drinking more because you feel like a failure. There's nothing else to do.
Right, and now your skin's looking worse, your body's looking worse. One of the things I love that you said is your mind will lie to you all day, your brain will lie all day, your body won't.
That's exactly right.
Explain that a little more.
Well, if we listen to our bodies, when we know we're doing something that isn't helping us, then our bodies will tell us. And our bodies will tell us when we're doing something good too, right? So one of the first things I do is I get quiet and I listen to what my body's saying. And, I'm a coach, but I'm not perfect. So I'm a human being, and I don't do that all the time.
Right.
But when we do, our body will give us really good information.
Oh no, it's hard. It's hard, but it does talk to us when you get quiet. That's the key. When we come back, everybody, we have more great advice with Nancy. We'll be right back. Kathie J. The Colorado Lottery is an official partner of the Kathie J Show. Colorado Lottery, play on. Kathie J. Welcome back to the show, everybody. This past half hour, we've been learning a lot about addiction and alcohol and what the recovery process looks like. Nancy McKay is here. She is an author, speaker, and recovery and transformation life coach. Thank you so much for being here, Nancy. Let's talk about real fast, what is the recovery? We briefly touched on it, but you do have to first get whatever it is in your body out with the addiction, right?
Right.
That's the hard part.
Well, yeah,
Or
it is. It can be if you are a really hardcore alcoholic.
You got to detox.
Detoxing can be very difficult, and it's dangerous to do on your own if you're drinking 24/7. So that's when you need to, get to the hospital, have someone take you to the hospital, and detox medically.
Yeah. Because your body has become dependent on that substance.
And it can kill you if you don't have medical attention and you're severely inebriated. You need to medically detox. I wasn't in that boat. I was still, pretty high functioning when I put that gun to my head. So, I detoxed for a few days where I slept a lot and went to meetings. That's pretty much what I did.
Yes, my girlfriend is in recovery 3 years, and that first year she went to a meeting every day.
Yep.
Whatever helps you, whoever helps you.
Absolutely.
You said, though, your biggest challenge, you've been sober since 2009, but your biggest challenge came in the 8-year itch?
At the 8-year mark.
Why?
Yeah, it was about 8.5 years. We were on vacation, and we were having dinner at a golf course in the bar, and my husband got up and went to the restroom, and for some reason, it was beautiful. We were on vacation, and all of a sudden, I want a glass of Chardonnay popped into my head.
You wanted to celebrate.
Yes.
Yeah, the whole thing we've been talking about. Culture
Exactly.
teaches you to enhance the beautiful moments, have some alcohol.
Exactly right. And so, it was incredibly intense, and I came this close to walking over to the bar and ordering a glass of wine.
So many people do. They think that I can be in control of it now.
And and it's not good.
Thank you. I'm glad you didn't.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Because I know where alcohol takes me, and that's not pretty.
Yeah, right. So let's talk about the intuition, because that also guides you.
Yes, it does.
Let's talk about it.
Well, I believe that we all have this voice inside of us, this intuition, this knowing that if we get quiet enough, we can hear. And I know that I have that, and I didn't listen to it for many times in my life that were really pivotal, that I just discounted it because I thought this is the way it should be.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And so I didn't listen to what I knew. And that's really important. If we learn at an early age to depend on that and to listen to our inner wisdom,
it'll guide you.
It will guide you, and you'll be in a lot better spot.
You will. Real fast, you say set goals is a big recovery process.
Yeah. We can't get from point A to point B unless we know where we want to go.
Right. See yourself sober. See yourself having a life without alcohol or without the substance, right?
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
What final thoughts do you have for our guest today, Nancy?
Oh gosh. I would just say ask for help if you need it. There's no shame, there's no judgment. It's really important for me to shatter the stigma of alcoholism and addiction. I think, the more we talk about this, the better off we're all going to be.
Absolutely, Nancy. Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate you sharing your story today. You're the best. Everybody, to connect with Nancy, please go find her online at AmazingOutlookCoaching.com. AmazingOutlookCoaching.com.